Hare Krishna, everyone. Dadvat Pranam, all grace to Prabhupada, all grace to His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu. Madhavananda Prabhu, we see that you are there, but we can't see you. Uh, Madhavananda Prabhu, can you hear us?
Prabhu should be back. Maybe give a minute or two.
Sure. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam, all grace to Prabhupada, all grace to you. Can you hear us, Prabhu?
Yes, I can now. I just put my headset on. Can you hear me
Excellent.
okay?
We can hear you, we can see you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in this Lord Jagannath Shravan festival. Without you, it's always incomplete, and you have been hosting us in all the Shravan festivals. You were there with in our Snan Yatra a few years ago. We were humbled by your presence, your busy schedule, and finally you are around. So we'll have a few minutes of your introduction by His Grace Krishna Namananda Prabhu, which is part of the beginning of the Shravan festival. We had two wonderful sessions in the past, and today is from Gaur Leela by you, which we can't miss. So Krishna Namananda Prabhu, if you can introduce Madhavananda Prabhu, and then we can have his golden voice.
Yeah. We're fortunate to have His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu, senior disciple of His Holiness Gaur Govind Swamaraj, who is very dear to all of us, was exemplified his practice of pure devotional service as an exalted disciple of Sri Prabhupada. So Prabhu is carrying out a mission of his spiritual master, preaching all over the world, especially Gaura Katha, Mahaprabhu's Katha. So let us hear from him attentively. We're fortunate to have his personal association also at our temple. We invite him again this year, if possible. Please give us your association, Prabhu. So let us hear from him. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, it's a great honor to be with everybody here. You have such a wonderful group of devotees, Jagannath Bhaktas, Gaura Bhaktas. You have such a wonderful temple there. We're hoping we can come and visit again in the flesh. Maybe next year, we'll see. So why don't I just say a few prayers for Mangalacharna, and we'll go ahead and start. Gauragraganya gana gota goloruharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyata Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gaura Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachia Dileka Kola Kahe Premananda Hemona Goranga Hridaya Dariya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jejana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bidana Padama Pumarta Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Srikuryat Kripaya Juri Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishe Yustapriya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannataya Te Namaha. So we want to speak a little something today about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath Puri. We'll see how far along we go, how many specific things we can speak about. As my Guru Maharaj commented a few times, I feel like I'm standing on the bank of an ocean and I don't know which way to turn. It's such a very, very vast subject. We can ask some general questions and make some general points to begin with. One of which is that question, how do we understand the nature of the Lord's abode? What's the difference between Dwarka and Vrindavan, or Ayodhya and Vaikuntha? If each one of these different abodes are manifested from the form of Lord Balaram to facilitate a specific mood of the Lord. When the Lord wants to enjoy his Aishvarya Moyi Leela, his pastimes full of opulence, then Balaram manifests himself as Vaikuntha. When the Lord wants to enjoy some Nara Leela, but the pastimes are also opulent, but Nara Leela meaning some human-like pastimes, then Lord Balaram manifests himself as Ayodhya or as Dwarka. And when the Lord wants to enjoy his Madhurya Moyi Leela, his pastimes full of sweetness, then the Lord Balaram manifests himself as the original abode of Vrindavan. So when we speak about Gaura Leela, primarily it's divided between Navadvip Leela and Puri Leela. Mahaprabhu also visited Vrindavan, and he also had his Prachar Leela in South India. And those are the three divisions, Navadvip and the preaching in Jagannath Puri, which are described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. But primarily the differences between Navadvip and Jagannath Puri is the two main places. So the question then comes, what is the difference between these two, the pastimes in these two places? And all of you, I think you've been to Vrindavan, you've been to Mayapur, hopefully you've been to Jagannath Puri. I have a question for you to consider. How many stones did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu melt in Navadvip? How many stones did he melt in Vrindavan? Not meaning Krishna, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As far as we know, the answer is 0. But if we consider the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath Puri, in the Jagannath Mandir alone, there's 1, 2, 3 different stones that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu melted, and 2 other stones that he also melted in Jagannath Puri. The first of those is 3 fingerprints, which you'll still find today just near to the Garuda Stamba in the wall, the doorway just before the Garuda Stamba. I haven't had the good fortune to be there, but Hema Jagannath Prabhu could probably tell us about it. He also melted his lotus feet in the stone, but standing by the Garuda Stamba when he was having darshan of Lord Jagannath. And later that stone was moved to a separate shrine where it is today inside the Jagannath Mandir. And a third place is at Alanath, Brahmagiri, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and did Dandavat pranams in front of Lord Alanath and began rolling on the ground. And his full body print is still there today at Alanath. A fourth place, fourth stone that he melted was a Govardhan Shila, which was brought to him by one devotee from Braj, and he melted his thumbprint in that stone. And that stone today is at the Radha Gokulananda temple in Vrindavan. And a fifth stone, which maybe some of you haven't heard so much about, is, which actually somewhere I have a photograph of it. One of our Pandit friends snuck his cell phone inside the temple. There's a handprint of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where they say when he fell unconscious in front of Jagannath, he melted the stone with his hand. So these are significant points. And from these, we can understand something about Jagannath Puri. It's a very special place. Now let's look a little at Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is a verse from the Anti Leela, chapter 14, where Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Loke nahi deki aichi shastri nahi shuni. That nobody's seen. No Shastra describes. Hena bhava vyakta kori nyasa chudamani. What that crest jewel of the sannyasis, the ecstasies, the bhavs that he experienced in Jagannath Puri, we don't find that anywhere else. In the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes in his Mangalacharana something about the inner mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the sixth verse, the very famous verse, he says, Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidusova Nayaiva, Swadyo Yena Bhuta Madhurima Kidusova Madiyaha, Sokyam Chasha Mananabhava to Kidusam Veti Lobhat to Bhavaja Samajani Sachi Garba Sindhu Harindu. He had these three desires. Kidruso, he wanted to know Radha Pranaya Mahima. What is the glory, the Pranaya Mahima of Radharani's love? Swadyo Yena Bhuta Madhuri Mokidduso. What is the sweetness of that love? And so Kim Chashamana Bhavata, Swadyo Yena Bhuta Madhuri, he wanted to know what is my sweetness that Radharani is experiencing. And so Kim Chashamana Bhavata, what is the happiness that she experiences by by experiencing my love, by experiencing me. So these three desires were not fulfilled in Krishna Lila. And he had to come again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But these three desires were also not fulfilled in Navadvip Lila. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that later on in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Adi Lila chapter 13. He says that to Krishnira Viyoge Jata Prema Chestita, when he was feeling separation, Asudya Purna Kaila Apana Vanchita, it was then that in Jagannath Puri that he fulfilled his three desires. So those three desires that he came, that Krishna came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to experience, were fulfilled not anywhere else, but they were fulfilled in Jagannath Puri. And we've never heard of any ecstasies like what he experienced in Jagannath Puri. In Jagannath Puri, just to touch on a few of the amazing ecstasies that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced, those Loka Nahi Deki Aichi Shastri Nahi Suni, things we've never heard of before. Sometimes water would come out from his eyes like a squirt gun, like from a syringe, would shoot out. Sometimes blood would come from the pores of his skin. Sometimes his arms and legs would shrink inside of his body. Sometimes his arms and legs would become elongated. We've never heard. There's Shastri Nahi Suni. There's no description in any Shastra of ecstasies like this. So let's look a little more at the difference between Navadvip Lila and Puri Lila. This is from the Adi Lila now. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes that in his Adi Lila, in his early pastimes, Pratham Lila, Chandra Vishwambara Nam. He was known as Vishwambar. Why? Because Bhakti Rasi Bharila Dharila Bhuta Gram. He was flooding the whole world with the nectar of bhakti ras, and thereby saving everyone in this world. And because of that, he's known as Vishwambar. So that word Vishwambar is later described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He says it comes from the bij dhatu, dubrin. So there's a root word of Vishwambar. Dubrin dhatura arata poshana dharana. There's two activities, primarily activities of Vishwambar, and that's poshana and dharana, that he's nourishing and he's maintaining. That's his primarily function in his Navadvip Leela. But then we hear later on in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Adi Leela chapter 3, actually same chapter and just a verse after, he says, Sesha Leela Yadhari Nama Sri Krishna Chaitanya. In his Sesha Leela, after he takes sannyas, he becomes known as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya, literally Chaitanya means consciousness. It's still a common name, common word we use in Hindi and Bengali and Oriya. That person who's conscious of Sri Krishna. Sri means Srimati Radharani or Sarva Angsini Radhika. Krishna with Sri. That person who's conscious in that way, or that person who's conscious of Krishna in the mood of Sri. That's Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Janaya Sabha Vishvadar Kaila Danya. And in those pastimes, he begins teaching about the name and form of Krishna. So Vishwambar has a number of meanings. Another meaning of Vishwambar that Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Navadidam Mahatmya brings out a little is that Vishwambar means that he's going to nourish associates from all the different incarnations. And we hear about that in the Chaitanya Chandradoya Natakam of Kavi Karnapur, in the very last chapter, which mentioned that Mahaprabhu says that all devotees, regardless of who their Ishtadev is, maybe they're a devotee of Ramachandra, like Murari Gupta, or a devotee of Lord Vishnu, etc., but he's going to give them Braj Bhav. He gives Braj Bhav to everyone. So in that sense, he nourishes all the different incarnations. And we have this Vishwambar word too, for those of you who have the Gaur Gayatri mantra. We meditate Vidmahe Vishwambaraya Dhimahi. We meditate on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as that personality who's maintaining the universe, who's doing these two things. He's nourishing Poshana and Dharana. He's nourishing and maintaining the whole universe. That's Vishwambar. So this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but in his Ancha Leela, he's coming to taste for himself. He has a special internal purpose. And let's look at that a little bit. This is from the 4th chapter of Adi Leela. And Kaviraj Goswami here speaks about two purposes for Gora Avatar. Prema Rasa Niryasa Korite Asvadana. Asvadana means to taste. So the first purpose is this is his internal purpose. Prema Rasa Niryasa Korite. He wants to taste. His second external purpose is Bahiranga Karan. We say external, but that's not really a very good translation for Bahiranga. Bahiranga, better we could say that it's something for other persons. Whereas Antaranga Hetu, his internal purpose is for himself. The Bahiranga Karan, or the Bahiranga Hetu, is for other persons. And that's Ragamaga Bhakti Loki Korite Pracharana. He's doing his prachar. Prachar means to nourish or to spread. We translate it sometimes to preach. So he's come to do this purpose, to give this Ragmarg Bhakti, this Raganuga Bhakti to everyone. That's his external purpose, and his internal purpose is Prema Rasa Niryasa, Korite Asvadana, to taste that, to taste particularly the mood of Srimati Radharani. But he's not able to do that in Navadvip Leela. Now that goes on in Jagannath Puri. And we made some magazine about that what was the purpose of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's taking sannyas? And even we ask another question, How could he take sannyas? Because is there something wrong with Sachimata's love? Is there something wrong with the love of Gadadhar Pandit and Murari and different devotees in Navadvip Leela, that he leaves them? That's not the fact, but if we study things, we can see that there was something which is even more powerful. And that more powerful thing was Radha Bhav. So then the question comes, well, why couldn't he taste Radha Bhav in Navadvip? Srimati Radharani's love is a kantik, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana, bahusaki hinantasya buddhaya vyavisayanam, that for this, on this path of love, you should be one-pointed. So Srimati Radharani is supremely one-pointed, but Krishna, he's bahusaka hinantasya. He has unlimited different ways that he reciprocates. And also in Navadvip Leela, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was reciprocating with the love of Sachimata and some Vishnu Priya and Gadadhar Pandit and so many different devotees. So for him to taste Radha Bhav, he had to leave. And that's the purport of his sannyas. So he went to Jagannath Puri. Now in Jagannath Puri, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in his Ancha-lila chapter 5:15, he speaks about three different levels of consciousness, or three states of consciousness that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in. Kabu means sometimes. Kabu bhave magna, kabu arda, bhaya spurte. That sometimes he was merged in this thing. He was merged in arda bhaya spurti. Sometimes it was something halfway. Sometimes it was bhaya spurti. It was fully external. Sometimes it was internal. These are his three levels of consciousness. Sometimes he's completely immersed in something internal, sometimes something partial, and sometimes something external. And this is a way that Srila Prabhupada has translated this. And Kaviraj Goswami explains this a little bit. It's a very fascinating subject matter. Let's go on. This is also from Ancha-lila, chapter 18. Tina Dasaya Mahaprabhu Rahena Sarvakal. At all times, Mahaprabhu was in one of these Tina Dasa, one of these three states of consciousness, either Antardasa, Bhaya Dasa, or Adarbhaya Dasa. Either he was absorbed in something internal, Antar, or Bhaya, something external, or Ardabhaya. Arda means half. It's half external, half internal. So this is a very fascinating thing about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'd like to look at one particular pastime of Mahaprabhu. If you go to Jagannath Puri today, highly recommended, there's an area called Gora Batsahi. Now they've given a more modern name to it, but that's still Gora Batsahi is what everybody knows it as. And there's a road by that same name, which basically goes from the Gambhira area to the ocean. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, every day, when he would rise, he would go to take bath in the ocean. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would sometimes tell the devotees that when you come to Jagannath Puri, you should go to the ocean to take bath and chant japa about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And he explained, because he said, Sri Chaitanya, that's the time of day that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take his bath there in the ocean. And he said that those pastimes are still going on today. And if you're very, very fortunate when you go there, you may actually be able to see those. So after taking bath in the ocean, along with his associates, every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would then go to the Jagannath Mandir to have darshan of Lord Jagannath. And according to Lochan Das Thakur and Chaitanya Mangal, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to have darshan at the Jagannath Mandir 4 times a day. So one particular morning, as he was going toward the Jagannath Mandir, he came to an area which is still there today, which is known as Chatak Parvat. or this area of sand dunes right near the Tota Gopinath temple, and where the Purushottam Mutt is, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's temple, only temple open directly by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in Jagannath Puri. And we wrote some articles about this in our magazine on Govardhan. So as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was walking along with his associates, suddenly he broke out in reciting a verse. Antaya Madhira Bala Haridasa Varyo Yad Rama Krishna Charana Sparasa Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahagorgana Yustayoryat Pani Yasuya Vasakandara Kandamulai. And Mahaprabhu then just started running so fast. And his servant Govinda was right there, and Govinda started chasing him. But Mahaprabhu, they say, was over 7 feet tall. And he was running like a madman. Govinda couldn't keep up with him. And Govinda started shouting, and all the devotees started shouting. Sup Damodar Goswami was there, Jagadananda Pandit, Gadadhar Pandit, Shankar Pandit, Ramai. There was one lame devotee named Bhagavanacharya who was following along behind them. Paramananda Puri was there, Brahmananda Bharati. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was running and running, and suddenly when he came to the hill, he collapsed and he fell unconscious. He fell into an internal state of consciousness. And at that time, his skin, it looked like kadamba flowers were underneath his skin, like golf balls or something, and blood and perspiration was coming from all the pores of his skin. And he was trying to speak, but he couldn't say anything. And there was so many tears coming from his eyes. His body faded to be like the color of a white conch shell. He was shaking. Kaviraj Goswami says, like the waves in the ocean. And he fell down in that way. So then finally, when the devotees reached him, Govinda, his servant, took some water from Mahaprabhu's sannyas water pot and began to sprinkle some water on his body. And then he took some cloth and he started fanning Mahaprabhu's body. By that time, Swarup Damodar Goswami and some of the other devotees had arrived there. And when they saw the condition of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they began to cry. And Kaviraj Goswami says that there, all the Astasattvikara Bhav, all the different ecstatic transformations were visible in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they were very astonished to see this. So very interesting thing happened that time. Let's look in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is from Anchalila chapter 14, which speaks about this pastime. Ucha Sankirtana Kori. Ucha means very loudly. Kori Prabhura Shravani. All the devotees started chanting very, very loudly Hare Krishna Mahamantra so that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could hear. Sitala Jali, they took some water, which Sitala, some cold water, and they started washing the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after they'd been chanting for some time, Kaviraj Goswami says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly jumped up. E mata bahu bhar kirtana korite, Hari bolo Prabhu, ute achambite. Mahaprabhu he jumped up and started chanting, Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol. And Kaviraj Goswami says that when he stood up, Sananda Shakala Vaishnava Bole Hari Hari, all the Vaishnavas became very, very ecstatic. And they all started chanting Hari Hari, Utila Mangala Dwani, that auspicious sound, Chatur Dik Bhari, it filled all the different directions, all 4 directions there in Jagannath Puri. And then Kaviraj Goswami says a very, very fascinating thing about this pastime. I'd like to go through this a little bit with you. This is one of our favorite pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. Uti Mahaprabhu Vismita iti uti chai, je dekite chai, taha dekite napai. Mahaprabhu became astonished. He stood up and he started looking around for something. but he couldn't exactly see what he was looking for. And then he saw all the Vaishnavas. And at that time, Arda Bhaya Ha'ila, he returned to that partial external consciousness. So Arda Bhaya means he's half here and he's half somewhere else. And in that half consciousness, he started speaking to Sri Damodar Goswami. And he told them, Govardhana hoite more ki ihana nila, pana Krishna lila deki tina paila. He said, where did you bring me? I was at Govardhan Hill, and I was seeing the pastimes of Krishna, but now I can't see them anymore. He says, today, ihan hoite aji mui. Aji, today, I went to Govardhan Hill. Dekon Jari Krishna Korini Godana Charani. Jari, because just in case, just if that Krishna is there tending the cows, I wanted to see that thing. And then I saw him there. Krishna was climbing on Govardhan Hill and playing his flute, and he was surrounded on all sides by cows. And then Srimati Radharani and all of her gopis came there. And then he says, Radha Lana Krishna Praveshila Kandarite Saki Gana Kahe More Fula Utaite. At that time, Krishna and Radharani entered a cave together, and then some gopis came and asked me to pick some flowers. Now, this is a very fascinating statement. It has some very deep purport to it. Generally, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go into an external consciousness, that's important. He would see himself as a gopi. He would see himself as Radharani. Sometimes he would see himself as in the Mahaprakash Leela in the house of Srivas Thakur in Navadvip. He would see himself as Krishna. But here in this pastime, he's watching Radha and Krishna entering a cave together. So he's not thinking of himself as Krishna. He's not thinking of himself as Radha. And he's not thinking himself exactly as a gopi. But he says, some gopis came to me, Saki Gana Kahi Mori Fula Utaiti. He said, hey, get to work. Go pick some flowers. You have to help us make a garland. So what kind of pastime is that? What is the meaning of that? This actually, if you contemplate on this, a very high thing, but this is our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. This is Manjari Bhav that Mahaprabhu was experiencing at that time. And then he says in the next verse, Hena Kali. And just then, Tumi Shaba, all of you, Kolahala Kali, you started making this loud noise. Kolahala. Tahan hoiti dari mori ihan lana aila. And you carried me from there. You brought me to this place. And then he said, Kaniva anila mori britta duka dite. Mora britta duka. Why you caused me this pain? Pana Krishna and Leela na painu deki. I had a chance to see the pastimes of Krishna, but now I can't see them. What did you do to me? I remember we were reading Leela for some time in our ashram in Puri. It's something we like to do quite often. Actually, every night we light lamps, we turn off the lights, we do a little bhajan, and we do some dramatic reading from different literatures. And for some time, we were reading Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then we had some discussion. And one devotee one evening asked us a very interesting question. They said, this is the Kirtan of Sri Damodar Goswami, who's Lalita in Krishna Leela. And what does Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have to say about the Kirtan of Sri Damodar Goswami? He says, Kola hala kaila, it was a loud noise. Britta dukkha dite, it was causing me so much pain. And this devotee asked a very good question. How do we understand this? The Sri Damodar Goswami is causing pain to the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Damodar Goswami's kirtan is like a loud noise. How do we understand that? Very good question. So I considered that a little bit, and I offered, I'll share you the thoughts that I had, that I shared at that time with that devotee, that Sri Damodar Goswami is Lalita. So first of all, if we're going to approach that question, let's do it in a proper spirit, a spirit of respect, not a spirit of criticism or fault finding. but a spirit of faith and respect, that understanding who Sri Damodar Goswami is, and he's the most intimate associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's the first thing we should understand. So then let's try to understand something about Krishna Lila and what the mood of Srimati Radharani is like. Now, the mood of Radharani is something like a roller coaster. If you go to the amusement park, you get on a roller coaster, and a roller coaster goes very, very slow. And it takes you up a very steep hill, very, very slow. And then you get to the very top and it stops. And you pause it just for a moment. And then all of a sudden it goes down so very, very fast. And then again, it starts going up slow and it stops. So Srimati Radharani's mood is something like that roller coaster. In separation and union, she's going up and down and up and down. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we established in the beginning, in the 6th verse of Adi Lila, Sri Radha Mahima Kidvisovanayaiva, he had 3 desires. He wanted to understand what is the mood of Radharani. So Radharani's mood has 2 basic different divisions, which are known as Sambhog and Vipralamba, or union and separation. And she experiences what's known as Unmadana. Unmadana means divine madness. And we read here about this in the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, chapter 47, in the Brahma Gita, and the mad talks that Srimati Radharani has with a bumblebee, and how sometimes in that Unmadana, in that madness, although there's separation between her and Krishna, she's feeling internal union. And then other times when there's external union, she's feeling internal separation, just like in the place known as Prem Sarovar near to Barsana. On one occasion, Srimati Radharani was sitting on the lap of Krishna, and a bumblebee came. And when the bumblebee saw the beautiful lotus face of Radharani, the bumblebee became very eager to taste some of the nectar of her lotus face. Srimati Radharani became afraid and started waving her hand to drive the bee away. But Radharani's hands are also like lotus flowers. And so when the bee saw her lotus hands, he became even more attracted. And then Radharani started calling out, "Go away, go away." And when she opened her lotus mouth and the fragrance of her breath came, the bee became completely intoxicated. At that time, Madhumangal was there, Krishna's Priyanarma Saka. And Madhumangal very bravely picked up a stick and he drove the bumblebee away. And then rather proudly, Madhumangal turned and said, "Madhusudan is gone." Now, Madhusudan is a name for a bumblebee, but Madhusudan is also a name for Krishna. And Srimati Radharani at that time was sitting on the lap of Krishna. And Madhumangal said that Madhusudan is gone. When Radharani heard that, she started crying. Oh, Madhusudan is gone, Krishna is gone, feeling separation. She's sitting on the lap of Krishna. And at that time, Krishna, he saw her bob and he started crying. And the joint tears of the divine couple formed this cone known as Prem Sarovar, which is still there today. You can go and take bath there. There's a wonderful disciple of Radha Govinda Maharaj who stays there. And he's just absorbed in reading the Bhagavatam constantly. So Krishna at that time, he saw that Radharani's mood is very contrary. When we're together, she's feeling separation. And when there's separation, she's feeling union. So Krishna wanted to understand that. And therefore he came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But when he came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was confused. Although Krishna is Sarvagya, he knows everything. He knows the heart of all living entities. There's one thing that he doesn't know. There's one thing that he can't understand. And every householder will understand this. That's the mind of a woman. Or in this case, the mind of Srimati Radharani. Krishna can't understand the mood of Srimati Radharani. So he required some assistance, just like if we do a drama and I'm going to play Rupa Nuga Bhakta Prabhu in the drama. Then I can go and ask him, "Prabhuji, what is your inner mood?" I can ask him. Now, he's a very humble, shy person. He'll probably tell me, Prabhu, I don't have any inner mood. So then if I want to understand his inner mood, then maybe I'll talk to his mother or his father or some close friend in the brahmacharya ashram, because that close friend sometimes knows us. It's a really close friend, knows us better than we know ourselves. So when Krishna came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the purpose of tasting that mood of Radha, he was in a vast ocean of unexplored territory. He didn't know how to do this. Krishna's Asvamurdra. Nobody's equal to him. Nobody's greater than him. In the same way, also Srimati Radharani is Asvamurdra. Nobody's equal to her. No one's greater than her. They each have their particular category. Krishna is Priti Vishroy. He's the supreme object of love, whereas Srimati Radharani is the abode of love. The object of love, the Vishroy, can't understand what the Ashroy, the abode of love, is experiencing. So he requires some help. So Srimati Radharani's two most intimate Sakhis, Lalita and Vishaka, came as Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda. And in their association, hearing Krishna Katha from Ramananda Roy, hearing Kirtan and different songs from Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was able to taste the mood of Radharani in Jagannath Puri. And to help Krishna as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to taste that mood of Radha, which is just like a roller coaster going up and down and up and down, Swarup Damodar Goswami did some things which seemed a little contrary, perhaps. That when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in his internal bhav, when he was absorbed in seeing Krishna himself, then at that time, Swarup Damodar Goswami would come and he would do a very loud kirtan, and he would bring Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu back to his external consciousness. He had this antadasa, this internal consciousness, and then Swarup Damodar Goswami would bring him to this bhaya dasha, this external consciousness, or ardha bhaya, or half, on the way it was half. So why does he do that? Because this is a mood of Radharani. Radharani, sometimes on one occasion, she was feeling so much separation from Shamsundar Krishna. And suddenly she saw Krishna. She looked up in the sky and she saw a gana, a cloud, a dark cloud, which looked like Krishna. And in her madness and ecstasy, Srimati Radharani became so ecstatic and she began speaking to the cloud, "My dear friend, Krishna, you left me, but now you've returned again. You're here." And she began speaking to the cloud. And then all of a sudden, the cloud started going away because the wind was blowing it away. And then Radharani became very disturbed. "Oh, now you're leaving me." So this is the mood of Radha. Sometimes she captures Krishna. She sees Krishna. She sees a spurti of Krishna, which Jiva Goswami and other acharyas explained was actually real. Krishna was actually really there. She sees Krishna for a moment, but then in her bhav, Krishna disappears. So to help Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna, to taste that mood, sometimes Krishna Mahaprabhu is going into this internal ecstasy. He's having that antadasha. He's seeing his internal passing. He's seeing Krishna and Radharani. And then to help him to taste the mood of Radharani, Lalita in effect is saying, "You know what you did to my Priya Sakhi before, to Radharani. Now I'm going to do it to you also." And then he starts doing this kirtan, which is ecstatic, Premanam Sankirtan from Swarup Damodar Goswami. But the result of it is that Premanam Sankirtan from Swarup Damodar Goswami, it brought Mahaprabhu away from those pastimes. All of a sudden, he no longer saw Krishna. And it brought him, first, he was confused. Where am I at? And he's looking around and he says, "Swarup Damodar, what are you doing at Govardhan?" And Ramananda Roy, "What are you doing here at Govardhan?" And then he says, wait, where am I? I was at Govardhan Hill, and then all of you started making this loud noise, and you brought me here. What have you done? So these are some of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes as so extraordinary. Loke nahi deki aichi shastri nahi suni, hena bhava vyakta kori nyasi chudamani. that nobody has ever seen ecstasies like this before. There's no shastras which describe this kind of ecstasy. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri was experiencing these ecstasies. So Jagannath Puri Dham, therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta described its Vipralamba Ketra, as they say in Odia, or Vipralamba Chetra, depending on what part of India you're from. But it's the place of separation. And it's where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, with the help of Lalita and Vishaka in the form of Sup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, was able to taste the inner mood of Srimati Radharani and thereby fulfill his three desires, which were not fulfilled in Navadvip, which were not fulfilled in South India, and even which were not fulfilled in Vrindavan. And therefore, we don't see Mahaprabhu melted the stone in Navadvip or in Vrindavan, but he melted the stone in 5 places in Jagannath Puri. So I'll go ahead and stop there. I think the devotees might have some questions or comments. I was asked to stop a little ahead of time. Hema Jagannath Prabhu, anything from you, sir?
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. It was just ecstatic. You focused on the importance of separation and how to remember the Supreme during separation, and you gave such beautiful pastimes of Chatak Parbat in Puri, which is like Govardhan, the ocean, which is nothing but Yamuna. And so, in this age, I have a question. When our memories are slow and we forget, how to intensify our sadhana so that in separation, because separation is a very common thing which is happening now with some very prominent um, saintly personalities from our movement disappearing gradually. So the separation is very important. And how do we retain, internalize, so that we remember? How do we do that in this age of confusing social networking, which is a distraction? How do we intensify our sadhana to foster separation, memory in separation?
First of all, someone may say, a sincere devotee may pray to Krishna. Krishna, I want to compliment you. You did a good job. This material universe it works really good. Time factor works just really nicely. The sun rises and sets and everything. But please forgive me, Krishna, but there's one mistake that you made. A sincere devotee may pray like this. And that mistake is that you're taking my Guru Maharaj away from me. Because when we have association with our Gurudev, everything's very clear and easy. When Srila Prabhupada was physically present in this world, there were controversies. There were sometimes, at one point, they didn't want to let ladies live in the temple. They didn't want to let grihastas live in the temple at one point, just sannyasis and brahmacharis. And they went to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was able to resolve that. That was very easy when Prabhupada was present, but now that he's gone, what do we do? It's a very difficult thing. And as you were indicating, and to go further down that terrible road, in a few years, most of Srila Prabhupada's disciples now are at least in their late 60s or early to late 70s, and there's even a few who are in their 80s. There's one not so long ago who passed away, was in his 90s. Within the next few years, as we go further along, there's going to be a lot of devotees leaving this world. And what is the purpose of that? Is Krishna get some kind of sadistic satisfaction watching all of us suffer and cry? Though there's a purpose for it. Krishna's creation is perfect. And Krishna's very, very kind. To help us to come to a higher level, Krishna does like that. Jiva Goswami explains in Bhakti Sandarbha that the word Vipralamba, anyway, in his Sandarbhas, and when he describes that the word Vipralamba means Vipralamba, to attain something from a distance. So it means external separation, but internal union. And we should see Vipralamba, separation from our Gurudev, to be like that. We're all going to have to go through that. After my Guru Maharaj left this world, we went to visit one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers was very affectionate to Prabhupada, and very affectionate to myself and other devotees. His name was Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. And we told him our Guru Maharaj left this world, and what do we do? And he told us, he said, don't think that your Gurudev is gone. You should think that he's just hiding in the bushes to watch you, to see what you're going to do. And when Gurudev is physically present, it's very difficult sometimes to see him. Because if you're a disciple of Jayapataka Maharaj, oh my God, it's so very, very hard. If you go where Maharaj is traveling, that's the easiest thing. Or maybe in Mayapur, you go in the evening darshan or something. But he has so many disciples, tens of thousands of disciples. It's very, very hard to get association with him. But when Gurudev is no longer physically present, he's still present. Once one devotee came to me, and I was in a class in Vrindavan. I was saying how we should be close with our Gurudev. And he asked this question. He said that, well, that's easy maybe when Gurudev's here in India, but what do I do when my Gurudev goes to America or someplace? And at that point, I told him, I said, please don't mind. I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I don't understand why you took initiation from your Guru Maharaj if you think he's an ordinary person. And when I said that to him, he became a little shocked. Well, no, I don't think my Gurudev is an ordinary person. And I told him then, I said, well, if you think that mundane time, mundane space can separate you from your Gurudev, then that means your Gurudev is mundane. He's not something spiritual. So how do we have that association? How do we appreciate it? My Guru Maharaj spoke so much about crying in separation and the importance of separation, feeling it. Once one devotee asked him a question in a class in Africa, that Maharaj, you speak about this, how can we experience this? And he gave a very good analogy. He said that it's just like if you're walking down the street and there's a funeral going on, and you see so many people and they're all crying and crying piteously because their husband, their father, their brother, their friend died. And they're all crying. You don't know the person who died. But when you see their feelings, you also start crying. So in the same way, he said, if we associate with people who are crying for Krishna, then we'll also cry. And similarly, if we associate with persons who are crying for Maya, I want more Maya. I want another kick. Please give me more Maya. If we associate with persons who are crying for Maya, then we'll also get that kind of mood. So we want to associate with devotees. And that association, Parasparana Katanam Pavanam Bhagavadya Samita Ratamitas Tushrinivita Mita Atmana. Bhagavatam 11.330 says that we should learn how to associate with devotees by doing things like we're doing today. And although we're separated by thousands of miles, there's some unity in Krishna Katha. You want to create a unity in your community. So how can you do that? You can say, we should all be nice to each other. You can advocate giving gifts. That's all nice. Rupa Goswami speaks about this in his Upadeshamrita. He said there's 6 types of loving exchanges, and one of them is, or 2 of them is Guyam Aketi Prichati, that we should reveal our mind in confidence, and we should speak in a confidential way. That means Krishna Katha. And anyone knows, if you work for any big company or anything, they'll have periodically, they'll have pep talks or meetings to bring everybody together on the same page, because when you have that kind of thing, it brings everyone together. So in our movement, our purpose is not just to raise money or just to build a temple or even to put on a festival, but our purpose is to come together as a community and walk together on the pathway of bhakti. So we have to have this Krishna Katha on a regular basis. And if we do that, then gradually we'll be able to understand these feelings. And that's part of the purpose of our discussion today, to understand Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation. Is that helpful, Hema Jagannath Prabhu?
That was awesome. That was awesome. And you spoke about periodicals. And on the top right, I see Krishna Kathamrita Bindu's one of the prior issues with Lord Jagannath on the top, which we share in our temple WhatsApp group all the time. It comes every alternate week. and we're looking forward to another one soon. So thank you. It was wonderful, and some of the publications you do is really going deep into the scriptures, and it reinstates our trust and faith and strength in scriptures. Thank you so much. So now we'll open up for any questions. If you want to ask His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu a question, please unmute, ask the question, and you can mute after that. So Rupanuga Prabhu has raised his hands. Please go ahead and unmute and speak.
Hi Krishna, bro. Can you hear me? I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi Krishna, bro. Thank you very much for this nectar class, and really appreciate you. The content and the mood with which you are speaking, and this section I've read in your magazines a lot. One just maybe you can elaborate what I'm going to just add, speak something here. Like when we read this kind of pastime, you were mentioning about Prem Sarovar, like Radha Krishna were there and the Madhumangal removed that bumblebee. So it evokes, maybe for me as a beginner, like it evokes a very kind of very deep emotion in my heart, and we come to understand a bit more about love, real love, which is the spiritual love. Like Uddhava visiting Vrindavan, and he got amazed. Wow, this is love. I came here to speak some knowledge, but he was moved. Similarly, like as a sadhaka, when we live in this world, and just suppose I'm a normal devotee living in temple, and suddenly spiritual master comes, and he carries his own aura, he has his mood, he has emotion, he has some objectives, and and suddenly this brings the consciousness from which was scattered here and there immediately to the his feelings, to his mood, to his words, to his intentions, and we try to understand, we got closer to him. So this I found like they are kind of a similarity kind of in between both the things. We realize, just like when a normal jiva lives in the world, but when someone hears the pastime, he get to understand what exactly is love, and he felt connection with the lordship. At the same time, the representative of the Supreme Lord, spiritual master, when they come in front of us or when we live with them, then we give up our conception, our consciousness, which has been attached here and there, and then goes into their consciousness, and we start thinking what he is thinking and how can I assist into that. So does it make some correlation, or if you found it means in your understanding, maybe we can reflect more and put some torchlight into that. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Srila Rupa Goswami gives a verse, he makes a statement which appears both in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and in his Pajavali. He says that Atagaroshi Padadvandva Bhaktyam, that when we chant the holy name, we develop our devotion to our Gurudev. Because our Gurudev has given us that name, Namasheshtam Manamapi Satchiputram Matra Swarupam Raghunathas Goswami praise. Gurudev has given me that topmost name. And that Tate Krishna Bhaji Kore Guru Sevan, that Krishna Bhajan, that's my Guru Seva. When I chant like that, then I come close to my Gurudev. And if I don't try to understand the mood of my Gurudev through the medium of Krishna Nam Bhajan, then what is the purpose? I'm just, there's a saying in Orissa, Phonakanka Guru, that some Gurudev, not the Guru who just comes and spits in your ear. So what is the purpose of initiation? What is the purpose of our being in the society unless we understand the mood of Gurudev? And how can we understand his mood? Well, I can be with Gurudev constantly. But Prabhupada said the mosquitoes also with Gurudev. What's the value of the mosquito? So we have to understand, we have to go deep into the holy name and come close to Krishna. And then we'll find Gurudev there with Krishna. We'll be with Gurudev and we'll find Krishna in that way. Is that helpful, Prabhuji?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Yes, very much.
Thank you so much. Murari Prem Prabhu, you can unmute and ask your question to Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada. When you were speaking about the Leela of Lord Chaitanya on the beach, where he was on the beach, but also at Govardhan Hill, he exhibited these symptoms of ecstasy that are difficult to comprehend. They're listed in the Nectar of Devotion. I could say for myself, when I chant Hare Krishna or I'm in a kirtan, sometimes tears will come to my eyes, but I can understand because I'm a neophyte devotee. It's not prema bhakti. It's just a reflection of Krishna prem. But in that Leela, Lord Chaitanya has Krishna prem. And so he's exhibiting those symptoms of ecstasy. They're listed and we can understand what they are, but do they actually serve a purpose? Like, what is the purpose of those symptoms of ecstasy? Krishna.
That's a very big and esoteric subject. Actually, first of all, I have to disagree that what Mahaprabhu is experiencing is not listed in Nectar of Devotion. Nowhere in Nectar of Devotion does it speak about like kadamba flowers underneath your skin or water shooting out from the eyes. And that's why Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Shastri Nahi Suni. There's no Shastra we've ever heard of this from. There are Asasapikara Bhav, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that when our senses come in touch with Krishna in different ways, we have Panchagyan Indriya, or our five knowledge-acquiring senses. When those five knowledge-acquiring senses, the sense of sight, taste, sound, touch, like that, when they come in contact with Panchatan Matra, the objects, the object of sight, the object of sound, etc., then there's some interaction. So when a very advanced devotee, his senses become absorbed in Krishna, then Krishna appears in that sense, to the eye, to the ear, to the touch, to the nose, the smell. And in a similar way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami takes us on an amazing ride in Ancha Leela of how Mahaprabhu is experiencing Krishna in Jagannath Puri. Sometimes he would hear the sound of the flute and he would fall unconscious. Then other times he would see Krishna, and Krishna would be standing underneath a tree and then suddenly disappear. Other times he could smell the body of Krishna. Other times he would have a dream or something, Krishna would touch him and he would feel the touch of Krishna's skin. And so in this way, and other times by tasting Jagannath Mahaprasad, he would experience Krishna. So in this way, all of his five senses were experiencing Krishna in that way. But sometimes it was like a riot that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, all the senses were experiencing Krishna at the same time. And his mind didn't know which one to go to. It was so eager to go to the sense of taste or the sense of sight, and they're all going on at the same time, and Mahaprabhu will become overwhelmed in ecstasy. And this again is a mood of Srimati Radharani. So that's a little something. It's a very big and esoteric subject. Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhuji, and thank you for correcting me in that it was not mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Nice to
Krishna.
see you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Ursi Mataji, you have a question for Prabhuji?
Yes, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Good to be here. I would like to ask or comment whether Srimati Radharani still does not consider herself yogi. So even the Guru is far and there is no space and time, she feels that she needs Krishna directly, closely.
Sometimes devotees, they say that although we're so far apart, although I can't see Hema Jagannath Prabhu, I can go on Zoom. And now I get to see Hema Jagannath Prabhu right here, or I can go on Facebook. But I think that if you were to go to the Braj Gopis, the Gopis of Vrindavan, and tell them, it's okay, Krishna went to Mathura and Dwarka, he left, but you can go on Facebook. Krishna's there on Facebook, you can see him, Krishna's on Zoom. Do you think the Gopis would be satisfied with that? Never. They'll say no, no, no. In a similar way, too, we want to always be with the Vaishnavas. And we want to be with Gurudev. But the way to do that is through Krishna Katha. And even if we're directly physically associating with someone, we may feel he may be very, very far away from us. Sometimes devotees ask me about experiences with my Guru Maharaj, and I'll tell two very quickly. One is that I was in America in 1993, and Guru Maharaj told me, I want you to come to India immediately. I didn't have money, and I had debts to pay. And so I went out and I was working and doing some things to get the money. And usually it would take me about a year or 2 years. And somehow I just felt like he was right next to me. And inside of a few weeks, somehow miraculously, I collected a huge amount of money and I was able to go to India. And I felt like he was right next to me the whole time, although he's thousands of miles away. And then in 1994, Guru Maharaj told me to travel with him as a servant. And I went to Europe with him. And I'd never been to Europe before. I didn't know anybody. He was the only person I knew, and he was my dear friend. I would sleep underneath his bed at night. I would give him massage. I was with him like 24 hours a day, except when he was in the toilet. And then when we were returning to India, we were flying from Heathrow Airport to Delhi. I was sitting next to him on the plane, this person that I felt the closest to in the whole world, my best friend and things. And he was sitting next to me, and for like 2 or 3 hours, he was not chanting japa. He was not reading. He wasn't talking with anyone. He wasn't watching a movie. He was just looking ahead, and he wasn't saying anything, and he wasn't sleeping. And I got the strangest feeling I've ever had. I realized I don't know him at all. And although I'm physically right next to him, he's thousands and millions of miles away. So what does it mean to really associate? And we do. Jiva Goswami speaks about this in Bhakti Sandarbha. He says we can associate through the teachings and we can associate physically. And although in our society, we always put stress on the Vani over the Vapu, and for good reason, because the Vani will always be with us. The Vapu won't be, the form. And of course, Srila Prabhupada wasn't able to physically be with all of his disciples physically, but through his teachings, he can be. But at the same time, if we consider the matter, I had some association with Brahmananda. I've had some association with Jamuna, both Prabhupada's senior disciples. And that association meant so much to me. Now, I know other disciples of Srila Prabhupada were wonderful devotees and done wonderful service, but they weren't Brahmananda or Jamuna, and they didn't have very much association. And I would like to hear from Brahmananda or Jamuna because they were chastised, they received instructions, and they said, we should want that also. But we may not be able to get it. Srila Prabhupada had very little physical association with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. My Guru Maharaj had very little physical association with Srila Prabhupada. It's not something we can demand. It's certainly not something we should try to force our way into. That would just become a disturbance then. But we get that association by crying and praying in the heart to Krishna, and Krishna will send that. Is that helpful, Arsi? Hare Krishna.
So, thank you so much, Prabhu. It was awesome, and you spoke about guru and disciple, and you wrote a wonderful book, When Good Fortune Arises. You get a guru, and that book is a masterpiece for anyone who wants to go into the subject matter. And this Jagannath Shravan festival is brought to you by ISKCON of Central New Jersey. So now if there is no other question, we'll have Madhupati Prabhu, our temple president, and Krishnaamananda Prabhu wish thanks to Prabhuji and have announcements, unless anybody else have any questions for Prabhuji.
It was nice to see Madhupati Prabhu. It's been so long since I last saw him. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your wonderful nectarian pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Puri and longing of separation. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you for what you're doing there. You and all the devotees, you're making a beautiful community and a beautiful space. You're creating Vrindavan in Jagannath Puri here in New Jersey.
We just had our Rath Yatra yesterday in Atlantic City,
Mhm.
the same city. And just seeing that how the devotees can manifest the mercy of Lord Jagannath right in Atlantic City and give the darshan of Lord Jagannath to so many who are bereft of it.
Yeah, you're Jagannath. He's so special. He's so big, and he wants to go outside and see everybody sometimes. Give us mercy.
Yes, we want to take him outside. That's what. But yeah, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, when he was here in 2020, on the day of Snan Yatra, that was his last visit to ISKCON temple, and we did the Aarti of Lord Jagannath, and that was the first thing he mentioned. Oh, why don't you take your Lord Jagannath to Rath Yatra? I said, they're very heavy. We take the Utsav deities, but hopefully that mercy of senior Vaishnavas, we will be able to take them one day out for Rath Yatra.
I think he must want to go. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Madhavananda Prabhu, from the bottom of our hearts, for joining in your busy schedule. And yesterday was your Rath Yatra there as well. So thank you so much. Please give your association again and again and again in our Zoom channel. And please come here to Central New Jersey.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
We'll have a quick announcement. Thank you very much, Prabhu. I thought I'll ask about the separation. This topic itself is so huge. Gadadhar Pandit and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intense emotions and separation, many other topics, maybe some other time. But thank you again. So July 1st is Ekadasi coming up, Yogini Ekadasi. In India, it's July 2nd. And then next upcoming festivals, July 7th is actual day of the Yatra in Jagannath Puri, and also here in ISKCON of Central New Jersey. Please join us 5 to 9 p.m. with Kirtan, Katha, and the actual Rath Yatra distribution of Mahaprasad. So please join and invite all others. Before that, there's Gundicha Marjan, July 6th. Saturday is the actual day of Gundicha Marjan. And the day before that, July 5th, seems to be Amavasya. But actually, its most important day is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance, Gadadhar Pandit's disappearance day. Very prominent days for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And July 7th also is the Swarup Damodar, Sivananda Saint's disappearance day, and also Swarup Damodar Goswami's disappearance day, which Prabhu touched upon, Swarup Damodar Goswami. Those are the quick announcements, immediate, quick upcoming festivals. But also we should know and remember the most important event of the year, which is Sri Krishna Janmashtami, which is coming up, and Balram Jayanti before that, which is August 19th is Balram Jayanti, Raksha Bandhan. Very important day. Please note, it's a big day. I know many of you might be planning, traveling, vacations. Please try to be here at ISKCON of Central New Jersey. It is our installation day as well, August 19th, Monday. We'll let you know the exact timing and details. So please be here. In case if you are traveling, attend wherever you are, try to attend the festival there in that particular location. Very important, especially Balram Jayanti and Janmashtami. Janmashtami is following 1 week after that, Monday, August 26th, Sri Krishna Janmashtami, followed by Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, appearance day, 27th Tuesday. So please mark those dates and plan accordingly. Thank you very much for your kind association.
Panchakalpataruvascha kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namo. Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jagannath Shravan Festival ki jai. Shila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. God
Jai.
bless.
Madhavananda Prabhu ki jai.
Madhavanand
Madhavananda
Jai.
Prabhu ki jai.
Gaurav Samara ki jai.
Gaurav
Thank
Maharaj.
you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.